Howdy folks, welcome back to Grumpy Viking Tactical. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today for you, going to be doing some double action drills and going to be talking about double action triggers, because it seems like a lot of people discuss about the flaws and problems with double action, single action type triggers, such as what the Springfield Model 3904 has, other various guns such as the Beretta 92F, and even some of the 6 hours like the 6 Hour P226 and the 228. And I think there's a lot of misconceptions, and there's a lot of people intimidated by the concept of a single action, double action trigger. A lot of fear, if you will. And while Blue Oyster Cult was out there telling you don't fear the Reaper, I'm here to tell you don't fear the double action trigger, because it's actually really not that bad. Now, as a bit of a background, I did serve in the United States Army. I was served a Beretta M9. I did shoot when I did my qualification, I shot a sharpshooter, which is like the highest marksman's award you can have when qualifying for firearms in the United States military, or at least the United States Army. So with that being said, I know quite a bit about how to handle a trigger such as the one on this handgun here. Also, this gun has been in my family for I don't know how long, and I've had this gun myself for several years. This was a passover from my father. And honestly, the trigger's decent. Now, honestly, I prefer a straight up single action trigger, such as that's on a 1911. I think the 1911s are much superior triggers to this. That being said, I think this style trigger is much superior to the double action only trigger that you find on a Glock. And let me show you why, and I'll explain some different things that people have come up with and dealt with over the years on dealing with double action, single action type triggers that is on this type of firearm. Okay folks, so let's give you a close-up of different things people have come up with, and I'll also show you what I do. Now, one thing I see a lot of people do, or at least say about double action triggers, is to avoid doing a double action trigger pull. Understand that a double action trigger pull is long and it is heavy. Okay, is to cock the hammer back. So it is single action. Okay, there's no point of doing that. You don't need to do that. Don't be afraid of a double action trigger. Now, one thing I see people do is they'll pull the trigger back and they'll stage the trigger. They'll kind of zero in on their aim a bit, and then they'll finish the travel. And then they'll go to the single action only type setup, because this is a much easier trigger pull as such. Now, what I do, I don't stage the trigger. And let me tell you why. When I need to draw a handgun, or when I think I need to draw a handgun, I anticipate I am going to need that handgun right away. This is also why I don't believe in pulling the hammer back. Because right now, this is the way I carry my handgun. As you can see, the safety decocker is off, and essentially I use the long, heavy trigger pull as my safety, because when it is in the holster, it is perfectly fine. Now, so what I anticipate is when I draw my handgun, I am going to need my handgun right away. So there is not going to be a moment where I'm going to be able to hesitate and stage the trigger. That when I go to pull the trigger, it's going to have to be right away. Sorry, I had a bit of an issue there because of the angle. Let me show you again. Okay. So that's what I do. I pull straight through. I get a good grasp on the gun. Of course, I would normally do this with two hands, not one, but I want you to see what I'm doing. Also, I normally either cup my hands like so, or I'll put my finger up here like I do on my 1911s. And if I put my finger up here, this gives me a bit more brace, and particularly on this handgun where it's got the serrations here, this gives me a little extra grip, and it keeps it more stable as such. All right. All right, now let's show you some drills that I do at the range when practicing with this handgun, or at least practicing double action drills with this handgun. Okay, now when I come out to the range and I get my target set up and I get my handgun loaded up, usually I'll be using this particular holster. Now with this holster, it's got a tab on it to safely carry. That would be snapped as such. Normally what I'll do is I'll just unsnap it once and leave it go. But whenever I draw, I will try and put my thumb in a position to act like I'm breaking that snap. Okay, and essentially when I'm at the range and I'm practicing this drill, essentially I will reach down like so, break that snap, draw the handgun, bring it out. Oh. Sorry, my magazine wasn't all the way in. This does have a magazine safety. Let's try that again. So I will draw the handgun out, I will get my second hand on there or so, and I will pull straight through. And then I will activate the safety decocker. I will shut it back off so it is now back on fire. I will reholster the firearm. And essentially I will just do that repeatedly, practicing that over and over again until I am satisfied with doing that drill for the day. I'll do a few more here before I wrap up. And someone's going to be like, oh, well, that'll teach you bad habits. No, this is just a beginner drill to get used to the double action trigger. And think of it this way, if you can get used to the double action trigger of a Glock, you can get used to the double action, single action trigger of a Beretta, of a Smith & Wesson, of any handgun. Essentially, it's one of those. And I'll just leave that on safe at this point. It is one of those, it is like a martial art or a sport or anything else that you do. You have to practice. You have to commit to it. You have to practice often. This is something that you can actually do at home. Obviously, when you do it at home, you need to do it with an empty handgun. I would recommend a snap cap, but you really don't need snap caps. Honestly, going by gunsmiths, dry firing a handgun really isn't any worse than actually shooting a handgun. But if you're cautious about that, then get snap caps before doing it. But essentially, all you got to do is just practice and commit to it. It's just like anything else. If you're going to go out and buy a Glock, you got to practice and you got to commit to using that Glock. If you got a 1911, you have to practice and you have to commit to using that 1911. I'm a little rusty with this handgun because I do not practice with it regularly anymore, and I am not committed to using this anymore. I have two 1911s that I am very committed to using, and you know, basically I could walk out here at any moment and use them as much as I want to, because that's what I've committed myself to. So that's just something to think about when it comes to double action, single action triggers. And I'm sure there's other methods that other people have come up with on dealing with double action, single action triggers, but realistically my method is just committing to it and practicing and figuring out what method works best for you. I really think just doing a straight trigger pull is honestly the best way to go, because like I said, if you're in a self-defense situation or a law enforcement situation or whatever, when you pull that handgun, you might need it right that second. And literally, you're in a situation where you can't get your shot off quick enough, essentially. Anyway, folks, really quickly, I want to give a special thank you to the Patreons. Their help, their support, extra support, does help the channel with a bit of a budget. It helps with ammo, equipment, so on and so forth. And I also want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching, tuning in, liking, subscribing, commenting, the whole 9 yards, sharing. That does help me out. It helps me cuck the YouTube algorithm. And apparently YouTube really likes getting cucked, because I notice the more people actually cucks the YouTube algorithm, the more attention my channel gets. So anyway, folks, once again, thank you very much for tuning in. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video and have yourself a wonderful day.